I want to explain the word ashrei, just linguistically what it means. It's translated blessed be, but it has a connotation that's much more than that. And I just want to read two passages to illustrate that, or maybe a little bit more than two. We'll see. So Proverbs 31:28. It's one of my favorite passages in the Tanakh. I know I always say that. But it really is one of my favorite passages in the Tanakh. You know, for years I prayed that Yehovah would give me the Proverbs 31 woman. That was my prayer. And in Hebrew, Proverbs 31 verse 10 begins, Eshet chayel miimtza. Who will find a woman of valor? And when I found my woman of valor, I announced to the world, I found my Eshet chayel, and people thought that was her name. They said, well, that's a strange last name. Her last name is Chael. But okay, sure. But why is this important? It's describing this woman of valor, the ideal Tanakh woman. Let's read it. The most beautiful part of the whole song, or the whole, it's really a poem. And by the way, it's an alphabetical poem. Every line of this begins with a different letter of the Aleph Bet. Right? So letter Shin, which is verse 30, is Sheker hachen vehevel hayofi. Grace is deceptive, beauty is illusory. Isha yirat Yehovah hi titalal. A woman who fears Yehovah, she shall be praised. Now, what does that have to do? What does it have to do with the Beatitudes? Well, first of all, happy wife, happy life. Right? And Ashrei literally means happy. That's the significance here.
That's what I was waiting for, Nehemia. How do you not tell him this happy?
So Proverbs 31 verse 28 is Kamu baneha vayashruha. Her sons, her children arise and they proclaim her happy. They ashrei her. Right? How do they ashrei her? They declare her happy. Ashrei literally means happy. We translate it as blessed be, and we translate it as beati, and in Greek a similar word, but ashrei literally means happy. Kamu vaneha vayashruha ba'ala v'yahalillah. Her children arise and they declare her happy. Her husband, and he arises and he praises her. And you can get an idea of what it means to proclaim somebody happy from the word vayahalillah, and he praises her. Now, this is the word that appears in hallelujah. Keith, what does hallelujah mean? You're the hallelujah minister. What is, to me, at least you are. What does
Praise
hallelujah
Yehovah.
mean?
Praise Yehovah. That's what it means.
But what does hallel literally mean?
Praise.
This is the pearl of the episode, Keith. It does mean praise, but it has a literal meaning. Now, this is a very common thing in every language that I know of, at least, but certainly in biblical Hebrew, that things start out with a concrete sense, and from there they expand to an abstract sense. And in the case of Hallel, we have a rare phenomenon in language, which is that most words in every language, linguists argue, that there's no connection between the word and the object it signifies. So we have the word kelev, which means dog, and mainstream linguistics maintains that the word kelev has nothing to do with the word dog. It's just that we've assigned that word, and we could say Yehovah assigned that word, because Hebrew is the original language spoken before the mixing of the languages, and the creation was spoken in. You could say that, but there's nothing about the word kelev that would tell me it has anything to do with dog. What about the word woof? Right? What the woof woof? Dog makes a sound. Woof woof. So woof woof obviously has something to do with the sound it signifies. It's what we call an onomatopoeia. Anomana is it's basically the sound it makes in Greek. Okay, onomatopoeia. So the onomatopoeia of woof woof in Hebrew, it's not woof woof, it's hav hav, because when they hear a dog barking, they hear hav hav. So the word hallel is actually an onomatopoeia. Did you know that?
No, I did not.
So if you go to a Jewish wedding, especially Jews who come from the Middle East, and you go to or other events, other celebrations, you'll see particularly the women will make a noise, which is the noise called hallel in biblical Hebrew. And the noise they make is with their tongue. It sounds something like, I can't do it. I'm not a woman. I'm certainly wasn't born in the Middle East. But it sounds like, Have you heard that?
Of course.
Okay, so in English, it actually has a term called ululation. In Hebrew, modern Hebrew, it's called hilulim. And in biblical Hebrew, it's hallel. So why does that mean praise? Because when you praise someone, you know, in English, we say, wow, he's amazing. And in the Middle East and ancient Israel, you would say, now, some people will say, oh no, Nehemia, that comes from the Arab culture. So I could actually show you this. This is a beautiful passage in an ancient rabbinical book called Genesis Rabbah. Genesis Rabbah is a midrash written around the year 500 or so, contains earlier material. And according to Genesis Rabbah, there's this cute word pun between the name of Leah and ululation. And it actually mentions there that the entire night before Jacob went in, remember the story, Jacob is marrying, he thinks he's marrying Rachel, but he's really marrying Leah. And the entire night before, according to Genesis Rabbah, the women were crying out, the entire day before the big night, let's put it that way, the women were crying out, Hilia, 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 Hilia. In other words, what Genesis Rabbah is saying is, why do we make this noise when someone gets married? Because when Jacob married Leah, which sounds like the women were warning Jacob, it's not Rachel, it's not Rachel, it's Leah, it's Leah, it's Leah. Now, I don't think for a minute that the women were trying to tell Jacob that this is Leah. But what it tells you is when this was written around the year 500 or 450 AD or something like this, that Jews were already making this sound at weddings. This was a celebration. This is ululation. And why? So how does this have to do with Ashrei? Because Ashrei is to proclaim somebody happy. We say blessed, but really it's happy. And it is, in many places, we have the word Ashrei parallel to Hallel.
Amen.
So when you say someone's happy, you're saying, woohoo, he's happy, hallelujah.